Yes, we are still in the studio because the neighbors are still partying and my husband is sleeping and there was a huge day of construction today. So we are just pushing through. And guess what? We're going to be talking about Dragon Trials. It's been long awaited and highly requested episode. So thank you to all the hatchlings out there for asking for this episode on Dragon Trials. This one's for you, my darlings. And it might seem like you are on Dragon Trial when you don't get to sleep. Your neighbors are partying after a day of construction and the husband is sleeping and it's just really loud for no reason. What is going on? Oh my gosh. You may be entitled to considering a Dragon Trial. I digress. I'm half joking, to be honest, but if you're new here, assalamu alaikum, merry meet, and welcome back to your daily dose of DragonFaether. My name is Azura DragonFaether, the Draconic Priestess, and today I will be your host at giving you just a really basic crash course about what Dragon Trials are, and we're gonna just jump right on into it, okay? People who work with dragon spirits or practice dragon magic usually identify as dragon witches, and some of them will consider certain interactions with their dragon spirit guides as dragon trials. A dragon spirit guide is simply just a guide that is in the spiritual realm that shows themselves as a dragon and is a dragon in and of themselves, and a dragon witch is just a witch who works with dragon spirit guides, okay? Sometimes it's like dragon symbolism and stuff like that too, but for the sake of the video, we're just going to be sharing what's kind of like a really common experience for the majority of like dragon witches who we've just like discussed about our dragon trial experiences. So first of all, a dragon trial is just a test or a challenging part of your life or a particular like unknown set of like hoops you have to jump through in order for a dragon to like approve or for a dragon to like deem you ready for like the next step, if you will. It's also a way for our dragon spirit guides to test if we have been, you know, practicing properly, if we have been really investing our time into our, you know, studies and doing our best to evolve ourselves and improve ourselves. And this is truly what is like the purpose of the dragon trials. And some people would argue that life in and of itself is a dragon trial. I myself am inclined to agree. But when it comes to dragon trials, we have to be first and foremost aware that it is totally different for everybody. And every single dragon that tests us in this way, like in a dragon trial sense, is going to have their own reasons and their own ways of doing so. And you're really just not gonna know what's like the best way for you or what a dragon trial looks like for you until you've gone through it. And in today's video, I'm going to share a little bit of the dragon trials that I've gone through that have just been really major in my personal life and in my practice, as well as just some common ways to know that you're on dragon trial and how to kind of like get through and like improve and accomplish and pass your dragon trials. So first, the probably most common way that like dragon witches and especially the hatchlings, we kind of see dragon trials as a way to improve ourselves and test ourselves to check our growth. And this is usually marked by the notice and disappearance of a dragon guardian. So I know I'm on dragon trial when a dragon like, you know, Monte or Rosie or Pickle Chips, who's normally around often, is somehow nowhere to be found. And this can be the same with dragon deities too. So sometimes Tiamat, Apep, Leviathan, Jormungandr, all of those beautiful dragon deities, they're just not around. And I'm like, what am I on trial for? Is kind of how I navigate this in my personal practice. And some people are the same. And sometimes like groups of like dragons can test you at a time. So it's almost like a dragon trial from like your spirit dragon clan, like we discussed in yesterday's episode. And if you missed yesterday's episode, definitely click the cards so you can go watch it to learn a little bit more about working in groups of dragon spirit guides. But for dragon trials, for me in my practice where I'm at now, it's usually like tiny little groups of dragons that'll like test me. Sometimes it'll be really big groups, and only once have I had my entire spirit team test me where they all vanished. It was very nerve-wracking. I wasn't prepared for that. But this is just how I personally identify when I'm on trial is, and like who's testing me, who I'm on trial with. And that's usually like a clue for what I'm supposed to accomplish, what I'm supposed to figure out, etc. And another way to see if we're on trial is if things just are really difficult for like a series, or a series of like difficult events, or like a series of unfortunate events, if you will, and not really knowing what to do next and feeling like there's no way out. I know some people, especially a lot of the spoony witches, we identify our health issues as like versions of dragon trials, because there's something that we deal with every single day of our life sometimes, especially if it's like a chronic health issue, and how we handle and cope with a chronic health condition that like plagues us every single day against our will, no matter what we do, if there's no cure. That in and of itself is a dragon trial, because it's a test of faith, and it's a test of how do you deal with horrible things? How do you deal with struggles? How do you cope when things don't look right, or when things aren't going right, you know, especially with your health and things like that. Some people might consider it like offensive to like consider your mental health a dragon trial, but I know that a lot of us hatchlings really resonate with this, because it has enabled us to have a better way to navigate our health conditions, and I am definitely one of those people. I have some really gnarly health conditions that the only way I get through it sometimes is just powering through it and doing my best to look at it in a positive way, and a way for me to, you know, remind myself that I'm only human and I'm allowed to rest, but I'm also, you know, very gifted in the sense that like, if this is the only thing I struggle with, then that is a blessing in and of itself, because we're all like dealt different like decks in our life, if you will. We all have a different like hand of cards that we're given, and we have to play it the best that we can. And many of us who work with dragons, when we struggle with our life, we look at that as like a dragon trial. So that's also very common. So a lot of people will notice that they're on like trial if like they're, you know, losing a job, or they have like a really scary health issue, or you know, just like a series of just horrible things happen to them. It's a way to like navigate and cope with that, and like try and improve from it and move on and stuff like that. And another way that I really struggle with like understanding how to navigate dragon trials is the nature of the fact that they're really just kind of like convoluted, I think is the word I should use, because you really never know like what's going on when you're on dragon trial. And I've had dragon trials that lasted years, okay? Yeah, that ex that you had, that you hated, that hurt you a lot, maybe that was dragon trial, okay? Maybe. I don't make the rules, okay? I digress, okay? But here's the thing, my loves, all right? Here's the thing, my dear darlings. I need you to be so honest with me right now, in the sense that like, we just don't really know what's going on when it comes to dragon trials. And that's also a really good indicator that you're on a dragon trial, is that you're going through a lot of like spiritual changes, and you're going through a lot of like spiritual questioning, and you're maybe really upgrading your knowledge in like a spiritual sense, or you're deep diving different topics that you've never done before, or maybe your practice that you've had for so long is just kind of like feeling monotonous, and like feeling like you're stuck in a rut and it's just not doing the same thing for you. It's those growing pains and not really knowing what's happening next, in the sense that you're lost, okay? That's a great way to feel, that's a great way to know that you're on a dragon trial, is if you feel lost. So it's just a really common experience. A lot of us feel lost all the time, and sometimes it's just because we're learning who we are. That's also part of being on dragon trial, is probably the biggest test that you'll ever have, or the biggest dragon trial that you'll ever have, is expressing yourself as fully as who you are in all aspects, okay? Like the parts that you are ashamed of, the parts that you're afraid to share, and the parts that are a little too geeky, cheeky, and freaky, okay? For most people. But it's not about most people, okay? Like, your life is about your life, and this is why dragon witches navigate the world. Many of us do, not all of us do, but many of us navigate the world through dragon trials, in the sense of like, what does a dragon trial feel like? You know what I mean? Let me give you a few examples from my personal practice. Like I said, you know, trying to uproot myself from a very abusive relationship. First of all, really realizing that it was an abusive relationship and that I was like self-sacrificing myself for nobody's, like, it was helping nobody but people who didn't care about me. And that realization was the hardest thing I had to come to terms with, because the person I was with, I loved them so much and I didn't know how to get away from that. Like, how did I walk away from somebody that I loved so much? You know what I mean? And it was always going to be the best decision for me to walk away from that, because my growth was being stunted. Do you know what I mean? And the most painful part sometimes is choosing a better life for yourself, knowing what you have to leave behind. That is like what has been a huge dragon trial in my personal practice. Another huge dragon trial for me was quitting vaping. Shout out to the vapors there, because I was so addicted to like flume vapes. Okay, it was bad. Okay, like I was deep in it, and one day I woke up coughing up black stuff and I knew something had to change, because even when I smoked weed for like so many years before I started vaping, like I never had anything like that happen to me. So quitting the addiction of vaping was a dragon trial. And there were other addictions that I've also had to quit in my lifetime too. Unfortunately, I do have a history of substance abuse, and that's because I have a history of also abuse and of trying to find a way to cope with that. And we'll definitely make videos about that, but that was 110% a dragon trial for sure, without a doubt. It was some of the hardest things that I've had to go through, and there's other parts of that journey that were also dragon trials. You know, I feel like learning how to grieve the loss of loved ones can be dragon trials. Not to be disrespectful, it's not like your dragons are judging you, but your dragons want you to, you know, move through your emotions. And that is the part that's a dragon trial, is allowing yourself to feel your grief, allowing yourself to feel your guilt when people pass, allowing yourself to really just truly experience that and not judge yourself for it, and like not suppress your feelings, not like stuff it down. Like, no, the dragons tell us that real dragons aren't afraid to cry. And if you struggle to cry, and if you have a lot of feeling and healing that you need to do, that is definitely an indication that you might already be on dragon trial. And also, learning to love myself was probably the hardest dragon trial of all, because I had to learn how I deserved better and what I wanted, and how to take care of and clean my body and my space, and how to understand what wasn't okay and what was okay, and what I wasn't willing to accept in my life and what I was willing to accept and look for. These were some of the hardest nights of like the dark nights of the soul, if you will, because I was just so sad and lost, and I didn't know what was going to be the best for me. And choosing to like not ignore that, and choosing to lean into that unknown and exploring it and seeing what I really wanted for myself, I wouldn't be having the life that I have today, or be sitting with a bunch of giant crystal spheres behind me. Shout out to Rock Paradise. But that's kind of my point, right? Like the dragon trial and the way that it like works for us in our practice as dragon witches is like a test, if you will, in order to make sure that we're on the right track, we're making ourselves better people, we're evolving ourselves, we are improving upon our knowledge, we are within our ritual practices, we are, you know, secure within ourselves, and making sure that we prioritize ourselves and our own well-being and health and wellness, because that is always going to be the most important part of this life. Okay, I know it's hard to hear, but like your health and your well-being and your happiness and your peace and like your prosperity, that is the only thing that matters in this life. And sharing that with your family and the ones that you love the most is all that matters, period. Okay, and that's just kind of, I guess, a little like crash course introduction to what dragon trials are, kind of a little bit how to know you're on dragon trial, and my personal experiences with it. But before I get out of here, I do want to say how to pass your dragon trials really quick. Just a rule, like a good, like what's the word, like a good like process to have when you suspect you're on dragon trial, or when you're just going through things that are difficult in general. Step one is to lean into the unknown and lean into the doubt of that process and the mystery of not knowing what comes next, and second, I'm gonna need you to embrace the fact that this is going to change you. Like, it's a transformative process. Like, dragon trials are about transforming you through trials and tribulations, and that is ultimately how we evolve and how we grow and how we, you know, reach new heights, if you will. And it's about being brave, okay? It's about being brave in the sense that it's time to dare to try and do things differently, dare to think about things that are hard to think about, dare to feel the feelings that you suppress, you know, dare to study things that you're kind of afraid or not sure where it's going to take you. You know, things like that are going to absolutely help you in passing these dragon trials. And focusing on always doing the best that you can to be better than you were yesterday is the best advice that I have for anyone who just really is living life on planet Earth, okay? That is just, do your best to be better than you were yesterday. There's no other competition. There never will be any other competition for you, actually. And the world makes a lot of money making you think that there's other competition than who you were yesterday. So that is a little tidbit for you. And also do your best to not get super emotional and not like fall apart in the sense of like, why is this happening to me? Like, I hate myself. Like, I wish I was better. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, like, allow yourself to feel, be like, it's okay for me to be messy. It's okay for me to struggle. It's okay for me to get it wrong over and over and over again. So when I finally get it right, it feels so good and it's actually a delight. You know, this is what matters in this life, is how we look at things and how we perceive things. And that's my secret tip, if you will, on how to pass your dragon trials is, if you're struggling and you feel like nothing is happening and you feel like you're on the same like dragon trial over and over and over again, try to change the way that you perceive it and perceive yourself. And that in and of itself might be the actual challenge or the trial or like the dragon trial. So like I said, this is just like a really basic introductory course to dragon trials in general, and we'll definitely have more episodes about dragon trials, but let me know your questions in the comments below and how you know you're on dragon trial, how you've passed dragon trials, and what guardians have given you trials and how they differed. I would love to know about it in the comment section below. And if you'd like to continue the conversation and learn more about dragon magic, don't forget to join the Hatchling clan Discord server. It is the first link in the description down below, and we would love to share all of the dragon awesomeness with you guys over there. And we would love to talk about dragon trials, so you won't want to miss that, and we cannot wait to meet you over there. But until next time, stay geeky and cheeky and freaky little hatchlings, yeah. Okay, but I'll see you very soon. Thank you for spending some of your day with me today. But Kadafis, blessed be, Amin. And please follow me so I don't get lost. We'll see you back next time for your day.